Jason Abraham, the shadow teacher, and I got a DM from a chosen one who is experiencing a dark night of the soul. And they were asking yours truly for help. And I figure this is just such a fascinating universal theme that everyone goes through. I just will go on and do a video on it. So for the chosen ones out there, I want to give you hope. I know that a dark night of the soul is a period of suffering, and if you're going through one, currently life may not make a lot of sense. Being here on this planet may not make a lot of sense, but I'm hoping by the end of this video, you're going to feel that you're not alone, and you're going to know that you have a special gift and that it's worth it for you to hold on and dig in and keep going. So I'm going to share some of my personal experiences in this video. And I went through my last dark night of the soul, lasted about a decade. And it was a painful time. And this video may get on the long side, so I might need to break it in two. We'll see how things go. But I want to break down what a dark night of the soul is from my perspective. And again, relate that to some of my personal experiences. So I want to start with a Carl Jung quote. And this is a beautiful quote. In order for a tree to reach heaven, I'm fucking this up already. So let me try this again. No tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach hell. No tree can reach heaven unless its roots reach hell. This is Carl Jung. So humanity go through a series of ascension cycles and descension cycles. We hear this talk of the Great Awakening that's going on, that's happening. And the Great Awakening is, one could say, an ascension cycle for humanity on a mass scale. And on the other side of that, for an ascension cycle to happen in this third dimensional realm, we have to have a descension cycle. So we're coming out of a descension cycle. We're coming out of the Kali Yuga, and we're moving into the ascension cycle of the age of Aquarius. Now, one could say the dark night of the soul is a personal descension cycle. It's one's personal descent. And once again, this descension is necessary for the ascension of the soul, for those branches to reach up to heaven, and for the soul to actualize what it came into this world to be. So let me go into this collective descension cycle we're coming out of, this Kali Yuga. Much of the character of this descension cycle we can trace to the control systems of the Illuminati, of the Cabal. And we can trace this to this industrial revolution where we have an elite rule, and the mass of human souls are put in a position of voluntary serfdom through the illusion of freedom. I said a lot there, but the Industrial Revolution, we have education systems that come into place that are simply imposed to teach humans what to think, not how to think. The education is simply there to serve people to be greater cogs to produce so that the wealthy, the ones who control the power structures, whether it be politicians, the government, the banking system, the military complex, the media corporations that came later, these elites, most of humanity is to be put in a position to where we're educated to where we feel value by being productive to their systems. And the path of the soul, the path of evolution and heartfelt ascendance, transcends beyond this realm, this limited reality that we are taught to believe. The myth of this dissension cycle, we could say, are two things: scientific reductionism and consumerism. People are taught to disregard much of the rich myths of the shaman, of the spiritual history of humanity, which is going to induce a state of amnesia to humanity, and instead replace them with these very dense, limiting myths of scientific reductionism. And much of the value that people are taught to find in themselves in the system is consumerism, identifying themselves with products or ideologies that this Illuminati mythology has produced. Now, if you are a chosen one, you are feeling this cognitive dissonance from being in this materialistic, this dense ideology that you're indoctrinated into. And when one goes through an extended period where they're denying something inside of them that wants to come out because they are trying to adhere to the system and they are not honoring what's inside of them, then we get the dark night of the soul. Now, my dark night of the soul came when I lost a special human being in my life, someone who I identified with giving me unconditional love all through my life. I lost them, and when they were no longer present, I felt a huge emptiness in my heart. And this triggered a sense of guilt and a series of me chasing significance in this world. And I was chasing the significance by trying to fit in to these structures that my soul, on a deep, fundamental level, was not in harmony with. And again, this showed up in really dark events in my life: lawsuits, losing jobs, breakups in relationships, and just an overall sense of failure to show up as what I felt I was being called to be in this world. Now, how I got through this is I realized that this dark night of the soul, this is information. I'm experiencing this dissonance inside of me. I'm experiencing this depression because I've taken on myths that are not resonating as truth in my heart. And I'm not allowing what comes into my heart to show up. I'm lacking the courage. I'm not honoring that. I'm not acting on that. So when I started to get clues about who I really was and what my values were, and then I started to act in congruence with them, then this darkness started to lift off of me. Now, some relationships fell away, but I understood that those relationships were not congruent with the identity with the spirit that wanted to come through me, and there was some pain in losing them, but ultimately, as I started to show up in the awakening of my heart, I felt better. I knew I was doing the right thing. And a lot of the values that I was conditioned to believe, the value for chasing success in the Illuminati system, approval of other people, when I started to let go of these things and not give two flying fucks about them, I felt power. I felt free. I knew I was stepping in to what I was meant to be. And I started to connect with something higher once again, something that was with me all along. So, this video is getting long, so I'm going to end it. I may do some videos. I'm going to dive into some of these other concepts I've talked about. But if you're going through a dark night of the soul, if you're in your own descension cycle, I want you to ask, what is that teaching you? What are you out of alignment with? What inside of you are you not honoring that wants to come out? If you don't know, make a practice of sitting with yourself and asking these questions. I promise if you do this, your soul is going to reveal the truth to you. And when you start acting on that truth that your soul reveals, then I promise you some of this darkness is going to lift. But remember, we need that darkness. We need that polarity in this world. We need the polarity of the darkness, of the roots reaching to hell, with the light, with the branches reaching to heaven. When we ascend into our next form, then maybe there's no need for duality and polarity. But that's where we're living right now. And so just know if you're there, it's all right. Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, wishes you peace. I wish you living the fullest of your being, darkness and light, living your truth, speaking your truth, being your truth. I love you.